I shot for the stars and landed on the clouds.
Do your work, but be the best at doing your work.
I can't even take care of myself.
Do I not put on my moños?
Hi everyone, welcome back to Vibe Chat, a web series where we get real about our personal and professional lives. I'm Cheryl.
I'm Brenda.
I'm Mafford.
And I'm Caroline, and in today's episode, we are getting real and reflecting on navigating life in our 20s.
In our 20s, there is this pressure in society that we should all have it together. So my question is, have you ever felt that pressure, and what do you do to cope with it?
Yeah, I think our families and our professors, I feel like there's just all this pressure, after you graduate, that you need to have it together. Even when you're in college, you should know what you're majoring in. And if you change majors, you're crazy. What, you change majors 5 times? And I think that should be the norm, changing it to something that we want to truly do and not see it as a negative thing. And even as we go on in our career, we're changing our passions and our interests because we experience what we thought we wanted to do. And we're oh, I want a little bit of this, but definitely I don't want that. So I think it's a good thing to change, but I guess society sees it as a negative thing. And then we portray that on ourselves, and we are super hard on ourselves.
Yeah, I think it's very common for, especially people with our backgrounds, for our parents to think that college is the answer to everything. That once you go to college, you're set for life. And unfortunately, that's not true. There's so many expectations, and now it feels like grad school is required, and you got to do all these internships, and there's so much extra things you have to do. So I grew up believing that once I go to college, that's it, I'll have my career and the rest of life will be easy. But now here I'm in my 20s, still trying to figure out what I have to do and how to get my life together. I feel like I'm starting from scratch, but it's okay because I'm not alone.
That's really true. Not just that, but also just the world we live in. It's so different. I'm gonna be 24, and when my mom was my age, she had already graduated college, and she had me. And she was married. And then me, 24, still haven't graduated college, just going with the flow and trying to figure out what the heck I'm trying to do in this adult world.
But it's okay, Mafer, you're hustling, so it's okay.
Sigues adelante.
It's my last year in my 20s, and again, I'm just wow, just looking back with everything, obviously I feel I sometimes get this pressure of oh, I should be married. And I had a coworker once say, oh, you should freeze your eggs because, you're going to hit those 30s and it's so hard to have kids in your 30s. And I was what? I feel that's our society, that they see it women in their 30s shouldn't be having kids. You should be having kids in your 20s. And I'm personally okay that I didn't have any children in my 20s because I feel I'm 28. I'm going to be 29 very soon. But I feel I'm barely kind of finding who I am and just... I've gone through it all. I went through my teenage rebel phase. I went through my party phase, and I've gone through now mature phase, and now I'm going more into, I want to be financially stable now. I want to buy a house, and I'm heading that more mature level, I guess you could call it. And I'm okay with it. Yeah, and I'm okay with it. And now I'm just I think I'd be ready to have kids at 35. That's how I see it. And there's nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with me saying I might be 50 when my child's 10 years old, and I'm okay with that. I enjoyed my 20s. So.
And I agree. I'm that's thinking I can't even take care of myself.
Girl.
How am I supposed to take care of a child?
Yes.
So just right now, it's learning adulting. I'm following all the blogs, how to get a stay enough clothing, or listening to finance stuff podcasts. And next year, if I'm still have my job, hopefully, I'm gonna sign up for my 401k and just trying to figure out what this all. It's hard.
You got this. You got this.
I'm trying. I promise I'm trying.
Can you guys believe that our parents see our generation you guys need to have kids and this and that, what we had, and then we're gonna see our kids, if we want kids, we're gonna be you guys should be doing this and that, but their generation's gonna be so different, and to them it's just gonna be a different experience.
That is so true. I feel my brother's Gen Z. He just turned 15, but he's already I don't know if I want to go to college. And I'm because I was, again, not forced, but like engraved that you have to go to college. And I'm like, you know what, like I'm okay if you don't go to college, but just make sure that you know what you want to do, because like just obviously sitting around the house playing video games, that's not gonna fly either. Like you need to know what you want and get into it, and I'll support it. But if you're just very unsure, like be prepared to have that convo with my parents, because
Yeah. Or like even if you don't know what you want to go to major for, go
Yeah.
to community college and take classes that you think are fun, and you can find your way that way.
College isn't for everyone, but I feel like it really does help find yourself or get to know
Yeah.
yourself at least a little better.
No, that's so true, because I entered as like a theater major. Like I was a musical theater
Oh,
major.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I was taking ballet classes, I was taking
Oh.
singing classes, I was taking acting
wow.
classes. And then I was like, well, this isn't what I want. So then I switched to criminal justice, and I was like, okay, this is not what I want. And then I just kept switching until I found communications. I was like, okay, this is what I want to do. But I feel like if it wasn't for college, I wouldn't have found that. And I think I had that same mindset because I dropped out after my first year. Like I didn't go. I went to one semester, then I dropped out, and then it's just, I think like after a year of just wandering the world by myself without college, I was like, I think I need college, and I decided to go back. But yeah, I just really found myself. I found my passion, I feel, in college. So
In her 20s, some of us are experiencing transitioning into that first big job. So I want to know, what were some things that you wish you knew at the time of that transition?
honestly, your worth and not being scared to ask for more money. I feel like I'm barely learning to do that right now in my late 20s, and I wish I would have been as timid or as shy to just go for it like in my early 20s, just because I feel like companies have the money, you know. And again, at the end of the day, the worst they could say is like, oh no, sorry, we can't, and that's it. But I was just always too scared to ask. So that's something like, again, research, like do your research. How much is this company paying for this? And just put that counter offer. Be like, okay, I know you're trying to offer me 20, but I see that this job goes for 30, so let's, you know, find like an in between. So yeah, I think that that's a big one that I'm just learning. And me personally, with my job right now, I'm about to ask for more money, and I'm making this whole presentation. I'm like, look, like I know what I'm worth. I've been here for a year, and I need X amount more. So just again,
We love to hear that.
yes, don't be
Yes.
scared. As a late 20s girl, I feel like the older you grow, the more confident you get to. Like you're just, those insecurities are like, you know, I'm over it. I don't care about my weight. I don't care that if I have acne, like whatever.
I love the financial conversations because honestly, I didn't have to go through that like underselling myself. I actually sometimes like oversold myself, but I shot for the stars and landed on the, what did it say, the clouds? I don't know.
Shoot for the moon and you'll land among the stars.
Girl, there you go. You got it.
I have a mug in front of me that says that.
Beautiful. I need that mug. But I as an intern, I was over here negotiating my pay as my first job, like because Brenda was having those conversations with me and so many other of my friends were having those conversations. I didn't have to go through that, and I'm sure that's what they want for everyone else that comes after them. And so I love these financial talks, and I think money shouldn't be taboo, and wanting more shouldn't be a taboo.
Stuff like that has been really hard for me to kind of understand myself, because like the elders have always told me, no te pongas los moños. And so I'm like, what do I do? Do I not put on my moños, or do I like, you know, be confident like my male colleagues? Like it's this hard balance, especially being Latina women. But yeah, like something I learned with like my first job was that it's okay to make mistakes. Like I put so much pressure on myself of like, I'm gonna get fired for any little thing, so much that like I sacrificed my mental health, I sacrificed my time, my lunches, just to prove and to be the best worker. And then that doesn't always pay off. Sometimes you get taken advantage of for, you know, doing that. So try to balance yourself, your mental health with your job.
I so agree with that because I was the girl who would stay late at my internship. I was there until 7 p.m. This girl came in at 8 a.m. It's like, that's ridiculous. And I think at some point, yes, it's important to like show that you are doing more than the others, pero not to the point where you're like burning yourself out and expecting something from them in return. And also, another big thing that I've learned is that don't have your job become your identity, because when you lose that job or when you have to transition out, it becomes your identity, and then you lose yourself and you're like, what's my worth? This job was my worth. And then you feel embarrassed to tell people, like, oh, I'm no longer there, I'm here, or I'm nowhere, because you have made your job your identity. So, like, if you take anything out of like working too, like, make sure you don't make your job part of your identity.
Just adding on to that real quick, just because I really want people to do this. People who are already working and like people who are barely applying, I feel like people who are working don't, I don't know why there's this taboo thing of like, oh, I can't say how much I'm making. Like, I feel like I asked so many of my friends and they're like, oh, like that's a private thing. And I was like, I had to do my Googling, I had to do my research. And then once I, said how much I wanted to make, now like a year later, I'm like, wait, I undersold myself for like $10 an hour. For $10. They were making more because I undersold myself. And if I would have known, if somebody would have guided me, I'd be like, you know what, this is how much I asked for, and blah blah blah. I have a friend that just got hired. I recommended her. She just got hired, and I told her, dude, ask for this much. She's like, oh, that's a lot. I was like, trust me, the worst they can say is no, and then push it down a few dollars. She asked for the amount. They didn't even flinch. They're like, you're hired, yes, you can make that money. And I was like, girl, see. But again, it's like, I wish I had that guidance, and maybe I'm not able to provide it to others because I felt so alone in that stage of like trying to ask, or again, because money is something really scary to talk about, especially when you're a bit younger. But now it's like, so yeah, just help each other out.
Going back to what Caroline said about like being grateful for what they offer, even grateful for an opportunity, like no te pongan los moños. I think, yes, that's okay at a certain extent. If you're not qualified for that job and they're giving you the job, girl, for sure take it. Like, it'll get you to that next job that you can negotiate, that you will have those skills, that you can ask for more. But in certain instances, yes, you cannot ask for more. You have to take what they give you. But it's knowing your value. And when you don't know your own self-worth and value, that's when those things become very blurry and you're not able to differentiate, like, are they underselling me? Should I ask for more? Or am I just being extra and like just want more money when I shouldn't be asking for it? Have any of you experienced any difficulty balancing your personal and professional life during your 20s?
Yes.
What personal life?
I couldn't say no to my employers. I would always say yes, yes, yes. Can you work weekends? Yes. Holidays? Yes. And just because I felt like I needed to prove myself, and I had no personal life at all. And I feel like eventually it catches up to you. It catches up to your mental health. It catches up just, you're that friend that can't attend anything, so might as well not invite her. Your family's asking, where are you? Why haven't you shown up to any of these birthday parties all year? And I feel it's, at the beginning, I thought that that's what it was. I just had to work. And then it wasn't until that same employer ended up firing me. And I was, because, they had budget cuts and they were like, oh, well, you're going to be the first one to be let go. And I think there's where I realized, like, dude, at the end of the day, I'm replaceable. Anybody is replaceable. And I feel like, what's going to be a weekend that I'm like, you know what? No, I can't work this weekend because, I only work Monday through Friday, and simple said and done. And putting those boundaries, I feel. And I've gotten really good at that, where I'm like, after 6 o'clock, if it's not an emergency, I'm not responding to an email. I will not answer your calls, like leave a voicemail. And weekends, I'm absolutely not working. Again, unless if there's like a production on fire, then I'll show up. But I feel you have to put those boundaries and learn how to balance it. And I feel it's very hard when you get that first job. You're really trying to prove yourself, but just keep that in mind that at the end of the day, you have to look out for yourself as well, and your happiness, and balancing it all, because you're replaceable at the end of the day.
I think it's so easy for us because we're at the beginning of our careers to sacrifice all of ourselves for the career, like especially if we're passionate about it. Like, I've allowed my career to become my identity because I love it so much and because I'm passionate about what I do. So because I'm still in my early 20s, I forgive myself right now that we're still trying to figure it out. But I have learned a lot.
And if you do more than what they're asking for you to do, at the end of the day, like, they can let you go. They start expecting more from you. And when you start going like back to what your normal duties are and you stop doing the extra work, they look at you like, why did you stop doing all the extra work? And it's like you kind of did it to yourself. So at the end of the day, just do what your job requires you to do. If you want to do the extra because it's going to benefit your personal life or your next move, for sure. Like if you're genuinely passionate about staying after work because of something and it's going to fulfill you personally too, I think that's totally okay. But remember that your employer sees that and they will expect more from you than your normal duties.
If you're doing more stuff that is not within your job duties, don't be afraid to ask for more and get compensated for your work, because you're building value for the company you're at.
Girl, do you think your coworker is putting extra work? Like, I don't think all your coworkers are putting in that extra work, yet they're still there. They're still employed and working hard, and that's sometimes they're even valued more than you are. So it's crazy. Just do your duties, and I think you'll go a long way. That's my opinion. But if you want to go and be like a star, that's also great. Like, it's personal.
And this is also not an excuse to be lazy. Again, do your work, but be the best at doing your work.
Amen. Thank you for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss any new videos.
And don't forget to follow Our Vibes Media on Instagram and TikTok.